Under a gray sky, heavy like lead, the Hawthorne Hollow House loomed like a ghost in the dark swamps of rural Louisiana. The rotting wooden house leaned precariously, as if ready to collapse under the weight of dark secrets. Thick vines crawled over the walls, like the veins of a living entity, while broken lanterns hung loosely, clinking in the cold wind. Around them, the swamp reeked of rotten mud, mingling with the croaks of frogs and strange sounds, like mournful cries echoing from deep within the mist. Locals called it the place of lost souls, and no one dared approach after nightfall. Over a century ago, in 1890, the Hawthorne Hollow House was the center of mysterious voodoo rituals. The Hawthorne family, led by Clara Hawthorne, a legendary fortune teller with eyes said to pierce into the spirit world, once commanded fear across the region. Clara was rumored to speak with spirits, but her powers also attracted enemies. A blood curse cast by a jealous witch bound Clara's soul and that of her daughter Eliza to the house, turning it into a gateway to the shadow realm. Whispers claimed that on rainy nights, Clara's lullaby echoed from the swamp, luring the unlucky into a place with no escape. The lanterns, though never lit by any hand, would glow as if calling from the land of the dead. The story begins on a damp autumn evening with a light drizzle blurring the view. Emma Carter, a young investigative reporter passionate about the paranormal, led her team to Hawthorne Hollow to cover the voodoo legend. With her were Lucas, a cameraman with a reckless grin, Rachel, a historian obsessed with Cajun culture, and Caleb, a local guide with a worried look. Standing before the rotting wooden gate, Emma raised her camera, her voice a mix of excitement and tension. "This is the Hawthorne Hollow House, believed to be cursed by a voodoo fortune teller. Tonight we'll uncover the truth." Caleb warned them of the legend, but Lucas laughed loudly, calling it superstition. However, as they pushed the gate, the wood creaked like a mournful cry, and a white heron flew past with a sharp screech before vanishing into the swamp. The path to the house was overgrown with weeds, and small voodoo effigies, straw dolls with stone eyes, were scattered about as if standing guard. Rachel shivered, sensing the heavy atmosphere as if the swamp itself was breathing. Emma filmed the front door, where deep voodoo symbols seemed to glow faintly under the flashlight. As they crossed the threshold, a chilling wind carrying the scent of mud and burnt ash swept through, extinguishing a nearby lantern. Lucas's camera captured a faint whisper, like many voices blending together, "Don't go further." Emma turned around, her eyes flashing with a mix of curiosity and fear, but no one saw anything except darkness. The house seemed alive, and the group didn't know that by stepping inside, they had awakened something waiting in the swamp. Something that had waited over a century to drag them into the curse. Stepping into the Hawthorne Hollow House, Emma's group immediately felt the suffocating air, as if the swamp had seeped into every wooden fiber. The flashlight swept across the living room, where voodoo paintings hung crooked on the walls, depictions of spirits and blood symbols flickering faintly under the dim light. The smell of mold mixed with something acrid, like smoke from an ancient ritual. Rachel whispered, her voice trembling, "This place isn't normal." Lucas, trying to joke, flinched when a lantern outside slammed against the doorframe, as if blown by an invisible wind. Emma led the group to a corner of the room, where a small altar lay hidden beneath a layer of dust. On the altar were half-burned red candles, animal bones arranged in a circle, and a cracked mirror with a wooden frame carved with voodoo symbols. Curious, Emma touched the mirror, and immediately the lights in the house flickered. A chilling lullaby, sung in a haunting female voice, echoed from all directions, making Caleb step back, murmuring, "That's Clara?" Suddenly, the candles on the altar burst into flame, and Lucas's camera captured the image of a little girl, Eliza, standing in the mirror, her eyes pure white, smiling crookedly. The ghost of Clara Hawthorne appeared, replaying the fateful night of 1890. In this very room, a wicked witch envious of Clara's power had performed a blood ritual to curse her. Amid a violent storm, Clara tried to protect Eliza using a voodoo ritual, but the power of darkness overwhelmed her. A gateway to the spirit world opened, trapping the mother and daughter's souls and turning the swamp into a hunting ground. Eliza's screams echoed, blending with thunder as both were swallowed whole. Reality snapped back and the group panicked. Heavy footsteps echoed from the attic, though the house had been abandoned for years. Windows slammed repeatedly as if someone were trying to break out. Rachel screamed when she saw a straw effigy on the altar stand upright, its stone eyes glowing. Lucas's camera captured a whisper, "Stay with us." Emma realized that touching the mirror had triggered the curse. The group ran to the front door, but it was locked tight, and from the swamp outside, Clara's lullaby echoed, pulling them toward the darkness. Caleb, pale-faced, muttered, "The swamp is calling us." Eliza's shadow flickered at the staircase, waving as if inviting them, sending chills down their spines. The darkness in Hawthorne Hollow House seemed alive, wrapping around Emma's group like a hungry entity, crawling out from the cracks in the rotting wooden walls. Clara Hawthorne's lullaby, no longer melodic, now screamed like a summoning from the dead, tearing through the space. Emma, Lucas, Rachel, and Caleb huddled in the living room, hearts pounding as the voodoo paintings on the wall flared to life, blood symbols dripping down like tears. Lucas's flashlight went dead, leaving only the red glow from the altar, where the cracked mirror reflected Eliza's ghostly white eyes and a jagged, sharp-toothed smile. Rachel, trembling, muttered, "It's inside us." In the midst of panic, Emma discovered Clara's voodoo book hidden beneath a sunken floorboard. The yellowed pages, damp with the scent of swamp mud, described how to break the curse, return the mirror to the heart of the swamp to close the spirit gate. Emma clutched the mirror, her hands shaking as the symbols on the wooden frame flared hot with light. But the house resisted, shaking violently like a wounded beast. The wooden floor split open and roots from the swamp surged upward, writhing like muddy snakes. Clara's ghost appeared, her face pale, black hair floating as if underwater, her hollow eyes glowing. "You belong to the swamp," she roared, her voice echoing like thunder. Eliza appeared beside her mother, her small hands reaching out, dragging the group into a distorted dimension. The space warped, the walls melting like wax, revealing the black, bubbling swamp beneath as if it were breathing. Frog croaks blended with the screams of past victims, echoing from the shadows. Muddy hands rose up, grabbing Lucas's legs, pulling him into the floor with such force he could only scream Emma's name. Rachel tried to run, but voodoo vines coiled around her, tightening like a noose. Caleb, pale-faced, shouted, "Emma, run!" He charged at Clara, swinging a wooden crucifix, but the spirit only laughed, and the darkness swallowed him with a horrific hiss. Emma, clutching the mirror, dashed toward the door, but Clara's lullaby drowned her will, whispering into her mind, "Stay, forever." She ran into the swamp, mud rising to her knees, but each step felt dragged by invisible hands. Under the pale moonlight, Emma threw the mirror into the black water, hoping to break the curse. The mirror sank, but the swamp bubbled violently, and a force pulled Emma down with it. She struggled, but the muck consumed her, leaving only one final scream lost in the wind. Lucas's camera, dropped in the living room, recorded the house returning to silence, as if no one had ever entered. The lens cracked, but still captured the mirror, where the reflections of Emma, Lucas, Rachel, and Caleb appeared, trapped, faces twisted in terror, hands pounding the glass in vain. Clara's whisper echoed, slow and chilling, "The swamp welcomes you." The mirror faded and the screen went black. The story ends with a chilling warning. Hawthorne Hollow House still stands, deep in the Louisiana swamp, waiting for the curious. On rainy nights, Clara's lullaby still drifts through the mist, and if you stand near the swamp, you might see Eliza's eyes just beneath the surface, inviting you into the eternal curse.